Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Doni Syamsi Nasution and I'm right here want to representing to you about my presentation about computer fraud on the chapter 5. When accounting information system grow increasingly complex, in meeting the increasing information needs, companies face the risk of growth that their system might be compromised. A recent survey showed that 67% of companies had security breach, and more than 45% were charged based on the crime they had rolled, and 60% reported potential loss. Before we know what the meaning of computer fraud, we have to know what risks who can attack accounting information system. Number one is natural and political disaster. It's like fire, flood, war, and terrorist attack who can destroy information system and cause company value. Number two is device error. Device error is like software error, system crash, hardware failures, power outage, and fluctuation and data transmission error that are not detected. And then number three is accidental action. In the form of accidental or error and negligence are the biggest risks to information system and cause $1 million in loss. And number four is intentional action, such as computer crime, fraud, or sabotage that are harmful damage to a system. Introduction to fraud. Fraud is getting dishonest profit from someone else. For an action to be said cheating, there must be: number one is false statement, representation, or disclosure. Number two is material fact, which is something that stimulates a person to act. Number three is the intention to cheat. Number four is justifiable trust, where someone relies on misinterpretation to take action. And number five is injury or loss suffered by the victim. And there are two types of fraud. Number one is misappropriation of asset. Misappropriation of asset is theft of company asset by the employees. For example, it's like some employees want to take company's property without some permission. And number two is fraudulent financial reporting. Fraudulent financial reporting is willful or careless behavior, whether by action, which result in materially misleading financial reporting. Fraudulent financial reporting is like management falsifies financial statement to deceive investor and creditor, increase the company's stock price, meet cash flow needs, or hide loss and company's problem. SCS number 99 about auditor responsibility for detecting fraud said that the auditor has to understand fraud, discuss the risk of one material fraud, obtain information, identify assets, and respond to risk, evaluate the result of this audit testing, and document and communicate finding. And number 7 is combining technology focus. Who is doing fraud and why? Some of the perpetrators fraud are from the organization itself. They are dissatisfied and unhappy with their work, and eventually they want to take a revenge on their employers. Perpetrators of computer fraud are generally younger and have some experience of computer skills. Some are motivated to basis of curiosity, the search for knowledge, and the desire to learn how things can work, and the challenges of beating the system. Triangle fraud. There are three conditions when someone wants to do fraud. Number one is pressure. Pressure is the urge or motivation for someone to commit fraud. There are two types of pressure. Number one is financial pressure. It's like when someone's feeling so stressed to living beyond their means, large financial loss, and have a personal debt. And then number two is emotional stress. Emotional stress is like when someone's feeling greed, arrogance, job dissatisfaction, or fear of losing their work. Number 2 is opportunity. Opportunity is a condition or situation, including a person's personal ability, that allows the perpetrator to do three things. They are commit fraud. Number 2 is concealing fraud, is like hiding the thief of cash through a series of delay in posting collection for a receivable. Number 3 is confronting thief or representing for the benefit personnel. Number 3 is rationalization. Rationalization is the reason used by fraudster to justify their illegal perpetrator. And now we come to computer fraud. Computer fraud is any fraud that requires computer technology to commit fraud. Like example, thief, use, access, modification, and copying or unauthorized destruction of software, hardware, or data without some permission. And number 2 is theft of asset covered by changing computer record. And number 3 is illegally obtained intangible property using a computer. And then increased computer fraud. Computer fraud is increasing rapidly due to the following reason. Number 1 is not everyone agrees with what is included computer fraud. Number 2 is many examples of computer fraud are not detected. Number 3 is high percentage of fraud not reported. Number 4 is many networks are insecure. Number 5 is interest side over step-by-step instruction and how to carry out computer fraud and abuse. And number 6 is law enforcement cannot maintain the growth of computer fraud. And number 7 is calculating losses is difficult. Classification of computer fraud. Number 1 is input fraud. Input fraud is the activity of faking or replacing computer input. Like example, employees sell full value customer ticket, enter it as a half-price ticket, and pocket the differences. And number 2 is processor fraud. Unauthorized use of the system, including theft of time and computer service. And then fraudulent computer instruction. Damaging corporate software, copying software illegally, using software in unauthorized way, and developing software for an unauthorized activity. Data fraud, illegally using, copying, searching, or integrating company data. And the last one is output fraud. Output files or print can be stolen or copied or misissued by someone. And then we come to preventing and detecting fraud and abuse. Number 1 is to prevent fraud to be an organization must take a several action. Number 1 is creating an organization culture that implies integrity and commitment to ethical values and competencies. Number 2 is develop and implement a strong control system. And number 3 is develop and implement fraud risk assessment programs that evaluate the likelihood and magnitude of fraudulent activity and assess process and control that can prevent and detect potential fraud, and use software to monitor system activity and recover the system from fraud. Thank you so much to watch my video until the end. I'm so glad if you give your questions to me in a comment below. I really thank you if you like and subscribe my channel. Thank you so much and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.